Brian De Palma, a director that changed movies as we know it, with masterpieces such as Scarface, Carlito's Way, Casualties of War, Carrie, Blowout, Body Double, and Dress to Kill, among others. De Palma's highly influential career dates back to 1962, when his first ever work, a short film called Wotan's Wake, starring William Finley, was selected and screened at a New York film society called Cinema 16. Throughout his versatile 57-year career up to now, apart from these masterpieces just mentioned, the director had also made some great flicks, such as Raising Cain, The Untouchables, Phantom of the Paradise, or Mission Impossible. Then also some pretty good pictures, like his Hitchcock wannabes Sisters or Obsession, which were cool films in their own right, but were ultimately inferior to the films of the master of suspense that De Palma was so inspired by. He also made films like his strong supernatural follow-up to Carrie, The Fury, starring Kirk Douglas and John Cassavetes, or his funny and charming mob comedy Wise Guys. And then, towards the end of the 90s up to now, his talent went radically downhill. I don't even want to talk about Bonfire of the Vanities or Mission to Mars. Anyway, my point is, we've all seen these fantastic films by Brian De Palma. However, amongst the director's extensive and eclectic filmography hide a few gems that you may not have heard of. In fact, a few of these pictures I will be exploring are masterpieces and some of the most important American films of their time, and this documentary will bring them to light. De Palma's first film is generally known to be Murder a la Mode. However, this was not the first ever film that the director had ever made. Murder a la Mode, which was released in 1968, was not, in fact, the first feature film that the great Neo Hitchcock had ever made. In the late 50s, the young De Palma was a science nerd who went to Columbia University to study physics, math, and Russian. However, at that time, New York movie houses were invaded by the French New Wave. This exciting new kind of cinema was what everyone was talking about at Columbia, and having no cinema course at the university, De Palma joined an avant-garde film society called Cinema 16, run by Amos Vogel. In the early 60s, Brian De Palma's name was only associated with one short film, Wotan's Wake, which was selected and shown at Cinema 16 in '62. The director had made Icarus in 1960 and 660124, the story of an IBM card, in '61, and submitted them to Cinema 16, but these shorts were not selected to be screened. Then, De Palma saw a casting call ad for a play at Sarah Lawrence University. He went and got a part in a graduate play. There, he met theater director Wilfrid Leach, from who De Palma admits to have learnt about directing. Sarah Lawrence University was in fact responsible for starting Brian De Palma up as a movie director. De Palma enrolled as a graduate student at the theater department of Sarah Lawrence and studied under Wilfrid Leach. Leach, De Palma, and another student, Cynthia Monroe, decided to make a film called The Wedding Party. These three wrote, produced, and co-directed the picture, with Leach also mentoring the two and overseeing the production. This film's cast came out of a Sarah Lawrence workshop, which included these three unknown actors called Robert De Niro, Jill Clayburgh, and Jennifer Salt. The cast also included William Finley, De Palma's friend who had starred in Wotan's Wake. Interestingly enough, in the documentary De Palma, the director claims that when co-directing The Wedding Party, he realized that he understood motion picture directing better than Leach did. As De Palma explained, there was a shot of De Niro, Finley, and Charles Pfluger talking, and Leach insisted on shooting the scene by putting the three characters in front of a bush. De Palma convinced Leach that this was a dull shot, and that shooting the scene this way would not be getting any value from the motion of the camera. De Palma insisted on shooting the scene his way. Leach yielded, and the future auteur placed the characters in front of a hedge, disappearing into a vanishing point, creating a dynamic shot instead of a bland one, as well as making the three characters walk through different locations between this otherwise dull talking scene. Anyway, The Wedding Party was completed in '63, but wasn't released. It only got a copyright certificate in '66. After this picture, De Palma, influenced by Hitchcock, made a film called Murder a la Mode, starring William Finley and Jennifer Salt. De Palma managed to get this picture to play in one cinema on 12th Street in 2nd Avenue, which opened on May 1st, 1968. De Palma said that he literally pulled people in from the street to see his film. The director joined a new talents program at Universal Pictures and was writing scripts, but apparently no one read them, so he and Charles Hirsch decided to make a picture themselves.
Greetings, greetings, greetings.
That picture was the brilliant Greetings. Greetings was produced by De Palma and Hirsch themselves on a budget of $39,000. It was finally picked up by Sigma 3 Corporation and released in theaters, becoming the first motion picture to get an X rating from the newly established movie rating system brought about by Jack Valenti in '68. Greetings was accepted at the 19th Berlin Film Festival and won the Silver Bear Award. The success of Greetings led to actor Robert De Niro becoming noticed, as well as for his off-Broadway work. This notice of De Niro led to The Wedding Party finally becoming released on April 9th, 1969. This first feature film that De Palma ever made is actually really good. The Wedding Party is about family and friends gathering at an estate on Shelter Island in Long Island, New York, for the wedding of Charlie, played by Charles Pfluger, to Josephine, played by Joe Kleberg. This film takes place a couple of days before the wedding, and is basically about the interactions of all the guests and family members of this wedding party. This picture plays like a Richard Linklater film, because it is basically just a couple days in the life of these particular wedding party characters, and you are pulled into their experiences and adventures, and just like Tarantino says of Dazed and Confused, you hang out with these characters. That is the main reason why I like this film. It is basically an experience of being at a wedding, before, during, and after, exploring all the things that happen to you during a wedding, and it's a lot of fun. Charles Pfluger, De Niro, and Finley, who play Pfluger's best men, do in fact become your friends, and the picture turns out to be a joyful and fun experience of a slice of life. The Wedding Party has some farcical elements, and uses fast motion comedy in the silent comedy Chaplin-esque way, which in my opinion wasn't really needed, but other than that, this film was a very fun and worthwhile experience. Also, Bobby De Niro is really good in this, even though it was his first ever film. De Palma claims that when De Niro came into audition, he did a monologue from Clifford Odets' Waiting for Lefty, and De Palma was blown away. He said it was like watching Lee J. Cobb talking to the Union guys in On the Waterfront. This first ever film from De Palma, it's a really delightful film about what the wedding experience is like. Also, fun fact, De Palma named William Finley's character in Phantom of the Paradise Winslow Leach, after the man who taught him about directing, Wilford Leach. Thanks for watching the first part of De Palma, The Forgotten Films documentary. Due to some programming changes on BlumenFalck, Part 2 is actually already out, and the link to it can be found in the description below. Stay tuned for Part 3, coming out next Friday. Can anybody guess which films I'll be talking about next?